Hey everyone, my name is Haley, and today I wanted to show you guys 3 portraits that I drew using the same reference photo. I did this as some kind of little challenge. I thought it would be fun to see the difference between each piece and what I focused on differently between each one, and what turned out better, what turned out worse. And I also thought it would be a good way to, improve. And ironically enough, I actually thought the first one turned out the best out of all 3 of them, but that's something we'll discuss in a second. So anyways, the way I break down my pieces is usually I have an initial sketch, and that can happen in a couple phases. Usually, at most, I do 2 sketches, and maybe on a very complex piece, I might do 3, maybe 4, but that rarely happens. So I have the sketch phase, and then I have what I call pre-rendering, which is blocking in colors, and this is flat colors, and then, bounce lighting, ambient lighting, all those fancy art terms. And then I have my final rendering stage, which, everyone's favorite, quote unquote. So for this first piece here, I spent about 43 minutes sketching it out. Right now on screen is like the rendering phase, but I have a list, nice little dandy list that I used to write out all the different times I spent on each part. So I spent 43 minutes sketching this one out. I actually used 2 sketches for it versus the second 2 pieces where I only used 1. And then it took me 47 minutes to prep it for rendering, and rendering took 2 hours and 30 minutes. So 4 hours total on this piece, which for a study with no background is kind of a lot, but I draw slow, so what can I say? So for portrait 1, here is our sketch to pre-render, and then our pre-render to final render. And like I said, I think this one, for the most part, turned out pretty decent. And with that, to portrait 2 I went. This time around, I only ended up with 1 sketch before I went into pre-rendering, which I kind of regret now because I feel like that second sketch really makes a difference as far as like the cleanliness of the overall piece. But who knows? Who am I to say? It changes for me every time. I felt slightly more confident in this one as far as like the colors and understanding the contours of the face, and I do think I spent way less time, over rendering the nose on this one, though I still feel overall the face didn't turn out as good as the first portrait, but I guess to each his own. So considering portrait 2 only had 1 sketch instead of 2, I spent 39 minutes on that, with 32 minutes spent render prepping. And then I spent 2 hours and 23 minutes rendering it completely. Outlook, not right now, please. So that leaves us with 3 hours and 34 minutes spent on portrait 2. And just for funsies, here is the sketch to pre-render and the pre-render to our final render. Again, not really happy with the face on this one. It's part of why I like the first one better. And lastly, you guessed it, it's time for the exact same portrait that I drew 2 times before. And at this point I was kind of over it. I wanted to draw something else, but I was committed. Not as committed as I should have been, because originally I wanted to do 5 portraits, but I was like, these look really similar to each other. I feel like I'm not going to get anything out of doing it 2 more times after this, so we're stuck with 3. Anyways. Portrait number 3 ended up taking me the longest out of any of them. Not by much, only by 4 minutes, but I was still kind of surprised when I clocked in all of my portrait timing. I figured I would get faster each time because I'm just doing the same thing, but I guess not. With only 1 sketch, I spent 39 minutes on it, followed by 35 minutes of render prepping, so, off to a pretty decent start. And rendering is what took me the longest, 2 hours and 50 minutes. So that combines to a total of 4 hours and 4 minutes on portrait 3. So longer than portrait 1 and 2, only by 4 minutes, but still longer, which was a surprising thing to find out in the end. So here's all of them back to back, all done within days of each other. I'm still mostly happy with the first one. I think the third one came out in a close second. It was a good mix of stylized and neatness, from the first 2 portraits, but I still think the first one is probably a best reflection of the study. So in the comments below, let me know which portrait is your favorite. If you agree with me, disagree with me, why or why not. I would be super interested in knowing why you might like one or dislike the other. And if you want to do this challenge yourself, go for it. It's a really good way to, experiment with your style, figure out your strengths and weaknesses. Good practice. So I'll see you next time, and thanks for watching.